What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Tactical Advantage. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. If anyone's been following the videos or following what I'm doing on Facebook, I've recently got into making foam inserts for gun cases for some of my custom guns. And I got the idea to try and make a false bottom drawer for my nightstand, so I have a nice organized place to put my EDC stuff. So when I get up in the morning, it's all right there where it's supposed to be. I also got kind of the idea to do something false bottom, just, you know, for the sake of some perceived security, you know, just for fun, just to see if I could do it. So basically what we're going to do today is get the foam insert cut out, create the false bottom, and kind of lay everything out. At the end of the day, I'll probably end up trying to get a linear actuator and try and have this thing on a biometric lock and have it pop open and close somehow or another. I haven't figured that out yet, so we're just going to be doing the crude grunt work today, but should be cool. So stick around, I'll show you how I do this stuff. Thanks. So basically you just need a couple things. Obviously you need a drawer. You need some foam. This foam I actually got locally at a hobby store called Joann's, and this is a high density foam, but it's an open cell foam. What you'll normally see in like Pelican gun cases would be a closed cell high density foam, and the big difference there is closed cell does not leach as much moisture or hold as much moisture. Open cell foam like this has a tendency to grab moisture and hold on to it for a while, so it's normally not practical for gun storage. But one thing I noticed, obviously again this is something I can get local, what I started doing when I started making the cases was coat the cheaper foam in Plasti-Dip or a rubberized coating, and that effectively seals the foam and doesn't allow moisture to leach. It also gives it kind of a nice textured color, so it works pretty good. I've done it a bunch of times. I've had a gun sitting in one of those cases for a couple months now, and no rust, no moisture whatsoever, and there's no desiccant or anything in there. So with that being said, the tool I use to cut is a tool I found, again, locally. These are kind of hard to find, but it's called a hot wire foam cutter. This is something I found at like a Hobby Town, USA. These are predominantly used by hobbyists in the locomotive hobby, where they're making like small towns and cutting foams. You know, not a really good one. It doesn't have a variable voltage, but it does cut. The foam I have right here is 2-inch, and that's about as far as this thing wants to go. And it is also kind of hard to get a clean cut, but I wanted this to fill up the drawer well, so I went ahead and went with the 2-inch. So basically how these work is you're just applying voltage to 2 electrodes with a thin electrode in the center that heats up when voltage is applied. So instead of using like the automatic kitchen knives, which normally leave pretty bad cuts, this will get you a really clean cut if you're working with the right kind of material. I'm still pretty new with that, so it might not be perfect. And then from that point, you just need some measuring devices and a Sharpie marker and whatever you want to lay out into it. So we're going to go ahead and do the layout. We'll talk about that. It's already been cut down to size. We'll get the stuff cut out of it, and we'll put it in there, and we'll create the false bottom, and we'll let you see how I'm laying out my EDC stuff. So let's get to it. Alright, so we got the foam laid out. I think this is pretty much how I want to have it laid out, and then, you know, we can change it up if we want to, but got my 2 Springfields, couple mags, flashlight, knife, and my set of handcuffs. So let's get it all traced out. Basically I'm just going to use a Sharpie marker to trace everything out, and we'll go ahead and get it cut. I'm not particularly worried about using a Sharpie marker to trace everything, because you can always flip it, and I am going to rubberize or Plasti-Dip this piece of foam, so you won't see any black or anything like that. So I'm going to get to drawing. We'll see you in a few. Alright folks, well you see we got everything traced out. Use my slide rule and just a Sharpie marker. What you want to do when you're cutting foam, when you do the trace, I always go back and try and clean up the lines, and I'll also extend them in a little bit, because when you seem to be tracing with a marker, you usually are a little bit too big. So I go and try and clean that up so I can make everything a little more snug. And if you have to go back and correct a cut and widen it up, that's a little bit easier than just having it big and loosey-goosey. So I'm going to start cutting things here, and we'll get moving.